A very good evening to you. Welcome to Leaders or Readers, Chapter 2, in terms of our book review. And the book that we are really going through is a book by Og Mandino, The Greatest Miracle in the World. Welcome, Daniel. It is fantastic to have you on here tonight. Man, was this chapter only action-packed. What do you say?
Definitely. For quite a few things that we can learn from this chapter as well.
Yeah, because remember the previous chapter ended off where basically that Og got the help that he needed, and when he looked
Yes.
around, the guy was just gone. Okay, so
Yeah.
we're opening up at chapter 2, and what do we see? We see that literally Og is having a bit of a meltdown. We're seeing he's asking himself and he starts questioning himself, and he says, why am I working so damn hard? Why don't I resign? What are you trying to prove? Why don't you go somewhere else where it's peaceful? So he's got this big thing in terms of why? Isn't it true that sometimes in life, you and I get so busy with our jobs that we get to the point where we say, what is it all for? What is it all about? Have you ever come to a point where you thought, why?
Yeah, definitely. It's basically is you get consumed by the work and the workload. It's sort of like what's the word? Monogamous. It's like over and over repeating. I would say there's no end to it because every day you wake up, you I was almost say you brush your teeth, you go to the toilet, you dress and you go to work. And you repeat that 9 to 5 all over again every single day. I think that is what was getting to him at this point. Just this the thing that he doesn't know sort of where it's going, what's his purpose, if I would put it that way. But that trend of going over and over the same old thing, the same old self, I think that was getting to him at this stage, or at his work at this moment.
Well, yet, who are we talking about? We're talking about Og Mandino, and where is he?
Yes,
He is the owner of proudly of Success Unlimited magazine
yes,
that
yes,
literally has got 4,000 copies that has gone to 200,000 copies with only 34 staff members. Now
yeah,
that of in itself is something huge. I mean, you don't grow
yes,
from 4,000 to 200,000 if you're not doing something right. Yet you find that this guy is saying, "What?
exactly. Yeah. Is this the doing all or the end of all? Yeah.
In fact, the statement in the book says this: the beginning of pride is in heaven, the
Yes.
continuance of pride is on earth, the end of pride is in hell. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. So now what we have is that Og realizes that, listen, don't let your pride get in the way, because we still have 120, no, sorry, 120 million
Million. Yeah.
potential subscribers that we can still serve. So what are you on about, buddy? Get your A into gear and just do something about it. Isn't that true?
Yes, that's 100% true. It's like he realizes, like, listen here, this is not the end of the road. This is just the beginning, if I can put it that way.
That's it. Okay, so now he's had his little a moment with himself. He tosses his glasses down and he walks out of the door. What happens, Daniel? Who does he see?
He sees Simon
That's
and
right.
Lazarus.
That's it. He sees Simon, he sees Lazarus, and says, wow. And the
Yeah.
moment Simon speaks to him, that deep voice, but always in a way in terms of, I bid you greetings on the most beautiful evening, sir. I can just
It's also,
hear the guy. What
it,
is classic? He's so classic the way that he speaks.
yes,
I'm into his
it,
character already.
just to add to that, it's also interesting. Every time he's on a down or a down low, I mean, the first time it was slowing everywhere and he couldn't get into his parking space, then Simon was there, or the rag picker was there. And exactly now the same thing. He was sort of like on a downtrend, like, I don't like it today. I'm like tired and stuff like that. And whoop, there he is. These answers, I would say,
So we have to ask the question: coincidence?
yes. Or maybe.
But you see, that's exactly what it is. That just when you think things are not going your way, something
Yes.
happens. Somebody gets sent across
Yes.
your path. You meet up with somebody, and then the help that you didn't know you needed presents itself.
Yes.
Now,
Correct.
in our case, Daniel, I'll be honest with you. Why we're on this thing tonight, and that is that just when I needed to speak to somebody, boom, Daniel van Zyl was on the scene. Do you recall that time when he just said to me, how's the doc, how are you doing? Talk to us about it.
Yes, I did. It's sort of like for me it was I see things and for me I just feel like hey there was something put on me is like just share this book with him. He doesn't look like he's like he's maybe like Og was. He was like messed up in all of the stuff and like tired getting go. So he needs to have. I felt that you had to have a little bit of a shove into some other direction, so that just open your eyes. Hey, listen here, this is not the end all and be all. There's something more important out there for you. So don't get stuck up in where you are at the moment, because tomorrow and the day after that is going to be better for you, or I would more say there's a purpose for you. I don't know if you found your purpose yet, but you need to live your purpose. And I feel like I was just put there to nudge you in the right direction with something. And this is the nudge that helped me as well. Nudge me in a little bit of a different direction. And it opened my eyes a lot. And all I knew was like, I need to get this book to end.
You know what, Daniel?
He's gonna love it.
Here's the truth. I was exactly at that point asking why. Why am I running from A to Z? Why am I hopping from here to Dubai? Why am I hopping from here to Saudi Arabia? What is it all about? And I really felt that I am just running from pillar to post, and I felt like a rat on the wheel.
Yes.
I was running, but I felt I was not getting anywhere until
going nowhere slowly.
Slowly. And then boom, this book on the scene. And you know what, Daniel? You listened to a voice. You got the book to me exactly the right time in my life. And what this has done for me, it has inspired me. It's put hope back in me. And yes, it actually has polished my purpose. But we'll get to that in the other chapters. Tonight, I want to deal with chapter 2 in terms of where we are. So now he's now met Simon Potter. He's met Lazarus, and he sort of quirks and say, "Yeah, Lazarus, like up from the dead." Is he? I mean, this dog sleeps so much; he's from the dead. And then this whole band in terms of what's your name, Og, and what is his real name? Can you remember what is the author's real name?
Oh, was it August or
Augustine? Is that right?
Augustine? Yeah, it was a long name, so he just made it shorter, but then changed it a little bit up.
That's right. And this when he went from AUG, org, to Og, and it stuck. Okay.
Yes.
And then Simon asked that question, are you still writing? Now, I want you to think about that. How did Simon know that he was a writer?
Oh, that's a good question. He's probably, because well, if you look at it, where he was in his study or in his home, or we got to that point now, and he saw all the books and he asked about the book. So that probably could be
this is before he goes into the
garden. Oh, even before.
So he says to him, do you still write? And I'm like, It actually hit me when I looked at this chapter again, that Simon Potter asked Og, are you still writing? And at this stage, he had not seen where we're going with the next scene. Keep that on the shelf. That is actually quite interesting. And we say coincidence? Well, I think that there's sort of a path that leads us, that sometimes we read something, but we don't click the circumstances in terms of what was first, what was second. So anyway, so there they banter, and then Simon Potter says to him, hey, dude, come to my house. I live right there, second floor. Come in for a moment. And he didn't want to do it, but then what happened to him? He found himself saying, I can't or couldn't resist. And he just followed. And there he was. And then what is that number on the door? Because this is going to play a vital role as we go through the book.
It was 21. Just before that, I also something in there that when they met and Og said, I want to thank you for helping me the other day, because obviously he was gone when he parked his car, so he couldn't find him to say thank you for it. Right. And when he asked him, he wanted to thank him, and Simon's answer was, it was nothing. We are all here to help one another. That was very significant for me, is to realize that, it doesn't matter who you are, what you are, we need to be there for each other. in times of need and in times of greatness as well, because people need each other. We as human beings, we're not made to be alone.
True.
That's not how we were made.
It sort of speaks about relationship and in a sense,
Yes.
community
Yes.
in a sense, but
Yes.
but quite rightly so. Quite rightly so, because that is what really got it going. Like, do it
Yes.
every day. But if you look at the first chapter where he found this guy was actually feeding pigeons in the snow, it's
Yeah.
the kind of guy that does things that are extraordinary, right?
Yes. Different, a little bit different.
That is what we found. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So then he invites him into the home. He just says, do come in. He's number 21, and he just flicks open, turns the key. He says, oh, please excuse the way that my house looks, making excuses. And then Og walks in, and what? It is
Spotless.
spotless.
Basically spotless, yeah.
And isn't that crazy? That,
Yeah.
people sort of in humility say, sorry about my place, but yet when you walk in, it's like, oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
But it just shows you there is a humility.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so 3 times 7 equals 21.
Wow.
Just
Okay.
it's a little code for later on. Okay. I'm just
Okay.
saying. I'm loving this book.
I'm now anxious to know what that means.
Oh, brilliant, man. Okay. So then he says, and as he looks, what does he see? He spotted the books, hundreds of them.
Yes.
Now, if you look at this guy, he was sort of, is this the kind of guy that's got so many books? Now, were they just sort of comic books or were they quality books? Daniel, you just
No, I would say it's quality books like books that's I would say inspiring, and that's got teachings of other people before him, like great teachings of I would say civilization, if I can call it that way. Great writers, but motivational people. That's you don't just read it for reading's sake. You read it to learn something from it. So yeah.
And I must be honest with you, look, he looked across and he saw all these books and all the main authors, but the main thrust was there's a big variety. And
yes,
they definitely fall in the category of teaching, inspiring, uplifting, and also a lot of Bibles. But what was cool, it wasn't just the Bible, it was the Quran, it was all Bibles, it was
it was a few of them, different ones.
It's sort of all of them. And then he asked him and said, and he asked Simon, so Simon, what's the big thing about all these books? And then he made a very important statement. I'm going to give you a code. I'm holding up the code. What did he say?
5.
No. What am I holding up? I'm holding up my
hand.
And that's right. It says, each of these own deals explains some aspect of the greatest miracle in the world. And I call them hand of God books.
God, yeah.
I found that fascinating. So all those books are positioned and are purposed, and he calls them the hand of God books.
Yes.
Little did Simon Potter know that he actually took the breath away from Og Mandino. Why?
Yes.
What happened at the radio station?
Because somebody told him exact same thing. Was your book not written by the hand of God? The hand of God is in the book that you've written.
Exactly.
I can see the hand of God there.
I actually nearly fell over when I read that this guy says, it's all about the hand of God books for me. But yet, 2 weeks before, it was Barry Farber, a popular radio's, the exact words, the hand of God. I can just imagine if I'm all like, dude, coincidence?
Yes, I was going to say the exact same. Oh, wow. What's going on here?
Scary, scary, scary. I mean, that's just absolutely profound for me. And then that question, does God still communicate with us?
Yes.
Like he did during the days of the Jewish people, the prophets and what have you.
Priests and prophets, yeah.
That's correct. And then what did Simon Potter just relate to them?
I would say Simon Potter said yes, but August also sort of like he was in between. He couldn't say yes and couldn't say no because he was still, I would say he's a little bit, he wants to say yes, but then I also think he was on that stage, he was on the wire still. Is it so or is it not so?
Correct. And then he just speaks about history and every generation,
Yes.
special people, talented, brilliant people, all bearing the same message in one form or other, that every human is capable of performing the greatest miracle in the world.
Yes. Yes.
And they went, what do you mean miracle? And then he asked the question, define a miracle. Now, I thought that was fascinating. You know, so often you and I can speak about a miracle happened, and somebody says, stop, define a miracle. I thought
Yes.
that was a bit of like, ooh, how must I define a miracle? And then obviously, Og Mandino said, well, I think this is what a miracle means. And he
Yes.
says, yeah, but a miracle is never devoid from a law.
Yes.
Interesting. So this is something for us to realize. Every miracle has to do with some form of law. And then
Yeah.
what did he do? He picked up something
Physics. Yeah.
and he asked the question. What question did he ask?
What happens if I let that thing go? What law will happen? What will happen?
Correct.
And Ox said, well, gravity is going to take over and it's going to go down.
And
It's
then
going to
the
fall
moment
because that's
Simon
the law
dropped
of
it,
gravity.
the Simon dropped it, and what did Og do? Automatically caught it.
Caught it. So he intervened into the natural law of gravity, taking the thing from way in the air down to the ground, crashing down on the ground.
And this is where one of the big learnings for me was on page 14 of the book in chapter 2.
Yes.
He says, so what happened? He said, well, I caught your paperweight. He said, no. It's more than that. Your action temporarily suspended the law of gravity. Let's just hang there a little bit. What do you mean? Your action temporarily suspended the law of gravity. In other words,
Yes.
remember we're still looking into what is a miracle.
Yeah.
Now we can see there seems to be a partnership or a conjunction between the two, that there's a movement, there's a law in place, something has to happen, and it seems like there's an intervention. So the action that happened was an intervention from a human being that for a little while suspended that law. In other words, we must ask the question, what if you and I are sometimes put in a position where we can temporarily suspend the law because we took action? Now, you spoke about what you picked up is how he said, no, it's fine. And it just helped him. And he made the point, should we not be there to help other people? Now, that really speaks to me, because the very fact of you sending this book to me was an act of love, an act of action that you took, because you said, for where he is, I just know that I know he has to have this book in front of him. That's what you said, and you did it. So here's the law that was broken. That book that was in your hand would never have moved or found its way in passageway to me if you did not take action.
If someone didn't take action or did something about it. Yeah, exactly.
Crazy, just crazy.
That's the same thing with Og. And what he said is temporarily means is, I mean, if we look at that situation itself, I mean, Simon let it go, let the crystal thing go, and then Og caught it. But Og is still in power to, guess what, let it go again. And then it will hit the ground. So it's like you're either going to help somebody or you don't have to. But it was in Og's power to decide if he's going to help, if he is going to help this or stop the thing or not. It wasn't in anybody else's power.
What you're saying is he had the choice. He had the choice.
Yes.
To get involved, to take action himself,
or not to get involved.
He could have just said. But I think he would have lost the lesson. I think he would have lost the lesson if he didn't react. Right.
Yeah.
But thank God that sometimes we have a natural knee-jerk reaction. We do something. It just comes from somewhere, and then we say to ourselves, oh, I didn't even think about that. Because certain things are automatic. But in order for us to actually have progress, greater questions need to be asked. And then the next question I asked was, well, now that, what would you judge as being the greatest miracle ever performed on earth? There on page 14. And that is where Og thought for several minutes. And little did he know that his answer plays a vital role for the thread of this entire book. Probably those cases where the dead supposedly came back to life.
Yeah.
Oh. Now, I wonder what made him say that. Because there was no discussion in that arena, nothing leading to that kind of deduction. But yet he said, I suppose people coming back to life.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I felt that was so profound.
Yeah, because that's a big thing. And obviously the dog's name is Lazarus.
Yeah.
Isn't from the dead. So that's also that plays into the whole system as well, or whole book as well. Rise from where you are, rise from this despair and the calamity you're in, rise out of it, and as you say, become alive again, relive what you used to be.
100%. And it's possible.
Yes.
But I love now, I
Yeah.
can hear that baritone voice in terms of him answering me. He said, but they do, Mr. Og. Most humans in varying degrees are already dead. In one way or
Yeah.
other, they've lost their dreams, lost their ambitions, lost their desire for a better life. They have surrendered their flight for self-esteem. They have compromised their great potential. They've settled for a life of mediocrity. Oh boy, that hit me like a ton of
Yes.
bricks. Daniel, isn't it true that the people that are around us, if we are not tuned into the needs of other people, we might miss that someone out there has lost their ambition, has lost their
Correct.
dream, and really have settled for mediocrity.
Correct, 100%. And this interface, especially with Og being in a situation where he's got this amazing company doing very well, but still he's not satisfied. He's alive, but he's already dead.
Something missing.
Yes.
There you got it. Here's this guy that went from 4,000 to 200,000, but he himself felt absolutely empty. And
Lost,
it's like, there's something missing.
Yeah.
Until he met the father of Lazarus. Or the owner of Lazarus. I just love the pun. I just can see this dog with the name of Lazarus. And then they say there are no more living deaths confined to cemeteries. It's their choice. Yet they need not remain in that state. They can be resurrected from their sorry condition. They can come back from the dead. So here we have a choice. So the two of them now speaking about life in terms of these people that have become hopeless, helpless, but they have the choice to come back from the dead. Is it really a choice, Daniel? What do you think? Let's just spar on that one a little bit.
I would say yes, it is a choice, because you choose the feelings and the emotions that you have. We've been given free will, so you can choose how you feel about something. It's all about how you react to the world around you. If a bad thing happens, it's up to you to say how you're going to react to that. And sometimes we mess up with that one and we go the wrong way, instead of like, yes, okay, this has happened and this is the reasons why it happened, but we can't dwell in this calamity. We need to move on, and that moving on is a choice. You need to choose to move on, otherwise you will forever stay there, trapped.
You see, sometimes bad things happen to good people.
Always.
That's a fact. That's a fact. My mind goes back to the 30th of June 2007, when I found myself in an unfortunate position where somebody else got hijacked. My wife said, help, there's a mother and two babies in the car. And I went running out. All I could find was two hammers to go and defend. And lo and behold, had to find out the hard way. You don't take two hammers to a gunfight. And I got shot.
Maybe 3 would have worked. Who knows?
Exactly. But the question was,
Yeah.
Why did this happen to me? And this is the most thing that just shoot through your head. I mean, here you are, you trying to help. You're not being hijacked. You go to help, and yet you get shot. Can you imagine? Just take that. How you now in a wrestling match with your creator in terms of, why did you allow that?
Why me? Yeah.
Why me? I mean, what am I doing wrong? And I think that, and that's just one example that's from my life. I'm sure you can relate to other examples, and other people can think of really things that happen in their life, and they say,
thousands, yeah.
Why? But the thing is, what we have to make peace with is, although God allowed it, it actually was not his will to harm you. There's just,
Yeah.
in my mind, I just don't even doubt that. If you're sold out to actually live in a certain way, if you actually have fallen to the point where you're alive, but you're dead on your feet, maybe that's the very thing that can make you shake up and start
Yes.
living a different life. I know in my case, it
Yes.
actually got me to refocus and
Yes.
reconcentrate in terms of
Correct.
what are the important things of life. Because I just realized, like that, I could have been gone.
Yes.
So,
And that's the thing. That's the thing about calamities. Everything happens with a reason. You just need to, whenever something bad happens to me, I always ask like, okay, what's the lesson here? Because you need to sit back and say, right,
there you go.
what do I need to learn now? This
Well,
happened for a reason. What is the reason? Am I going the wrong way, or I'm going the right way, but with a wrong attitude to it? And that's how you find out, oh, but that happened because that wasn't meant for me. This better thing was meant for me. And I didn't want to destroy that, but God came in and destroyed that because there was something better for me. And it's just to, I would say, guide you through life. That's why things happen to you.
can I underline what you just said? You
Yes.
actually stated and said, we need not to say, why God, but we need to say, what must I learn?
Yes.
Brilliant. Because, Daniel, if we can actually get to the point of maturity of saying, not why, but what do you want me to learn? Then
Yes.
we are positioned to take a learning from the situation.
Correct.
I really just believe, it's a situation of give and take. There's just
Correct.
no way that it's meant to harm us. Okay. Anything else you want to
100%.
highlight on page 14 before we go to page 15?
No, that's about it. What he was talking about there, and then obviously he gives an example of what's bringing up from a dead is, and that's where we go for the next step, is explaining to Og, well, this is how it's done, or this is how he has been doing it, which is
Correct.
really interesting as well.
But as we get to that, what I found fascinating in the middle of page 15 there, where it says, and all of a sudden, Og says, I felt more relaxed and at peace with the world than I'd been in many months.
Yes.
Now, if he was not at number 21 on the second floor, he never would have experienced all of a sudden in his own what he calls personal chaos. Yet he's successful. The sales are there, the demands are there. He's written 5 books. He's doing very well, but yet felt it's not good enough. And
Yes.
all of a sudden he felt a bit of a peace. Now, is it because he was speaking to somebody else? Isn't that a tip for us that sometimes we need to put our pride in our pocket and go and speak to someone else? We need to reach out and say, can I just talk to you? Can I just bounce something off you? Can I
Yes.
soundboard with you? Shouldn't we do that sometimes?
It's 100% true. It's like you need an outside perspective on your inside goals, if I put it that way.
Absolutely.
Because the outside will give you more information of where you're going, because you can't see it from the outside. Somebody else can only see you. You can't see you from the outside.
True. And yet we never know what any individual has gone through
Correctly.
if we don't know their circumstances. Because in Og's
Yes.
case, he looked around and he saw 2 picture frames, and one was of a brunette, one was with a young son, and he was about to ask and he didn't ask, and the guy just looked across and said, they're both dead.
Yes.
And I could just feel that moment of what? But then he had the wisdom not to ask. Sometimes
Yes.
we need to know when to shut up, because
Yeah.
he could have taken this a whole wrong route if he responded at that time. It wasn't the time.
Yeah.
He just let it go. And that's really what he wanted to do. That's essentially what it was.
Correct.
Okay. And then Og was so cross with himself that he showed a bit of grief because he was frustrated with himself, and then he was so angry with himself. But then again, he smiled, he spread his hand, and a self-gesture said, I'm a rag picker, Mr. Og. A what? I'm a rag picker. You explain to us, Daniel, what is a rag picker?
A rag picker is basically, in the olden days when it was, to take the example of what is a rag picker. In the olden days when it was the depression, these were the guys, I mean, you see them sometimes today as well, that walks around and pick up all the old stuff that people don't need, and then they find value in it, like picking up metal pieces and then go and sell it for something that they can use. So they take old broken stuff or discarded stuff actually and make it sort of like, if you can say it, new again. So polishing it off. So it's basically taking the old, making it a new again.
But then Simon Potter went and said something absolutely profound. But that's not the kind of rag picking I do, Mr. Oak.
Yeah.
What did he say?
But first, he said by the definition of what the rag picker is, and then I set out waste. Well, I set up waste materials of the humankind.
There you go. It's exactly where my finger is. He's a
Yes.
rag picker. However, I search out waste materials of the humankind. People who've been discarded by others or even themselves. People who still have great potential but have lost their self-esteem and the desire for a better life. Oh my gosh. And then what does he do? I help them return from their living death.
Dead. Yeah.
If only we had more rag pickers in life. People have said, I feel my purpose is to be there for others, to actually pick them up from their living death and help them realize that they can restore their self-esteem, that they
Correct.
do have a purpose, that they can go something. And then we see that the scene goes to Og going and he sees a little cross on Simon's chest. And now I went to myself, why did the writer do that? Og. I mean, he tells us of this profound thing, and then it's like he said, he's attention deficit. He sees the cross in the guy's chest. But I think his mind subconsciously was looking for, how on earth do you do what you do? Why is it that you are so different? You're a human rag picker. And I think that was just in a sense, in terms of, I might have a connection that you're not aware.
How does that work? Put it that way.
That's true.
Yeah.
Coincidence? We just have to ask. We just have to
definitely coincidence.
Okay. And then we see, right, now they get talking. And the man with the deep voice says, page 17, Mr. Og, most of us build prisons for ourselves. And after we occupy them for a period of time, we become accustomed to their walls. We accept the false promise that we are incarcerated for life. As soon as that belief takes hold of us, we abandon hope of ever doing more with our lives and of ever giving our dreams a chance to be fulfilled. Wow. That is the saddest statement ever. How many people do you know, Daniel, that have actually got to the point where they put themselves in a prison, self-imprisoned? No one else put them there. They put themselves there.
That's the worst kind, I would say.
Yes, I'm going to have to be honest with you tonight and authentic. This is when I actually got a bit of a wake-up call in this book. Because I said to myself, and you've built a prison. You've put yourself in a prison. It's time to get yourself out, because that is a place of death and incarceration. You need to get out, smell the roses, go where the skies are clear, go where you can actually fulfill your purpose because of what you've done. Now,
just the next sentence says it all. We become puppets and begin to suffer living deaths.
Sure, that is terrible.
That's hard. Yeah.
But now the question is, how many people are listening to this and thinking, hey, that's me? Well, we want to encourage you. We're discovering, co-discovering with you that before we knew it, we actually now come to realize we've put ourselves in that prison. And if we don't do something about it, it will not change. Our circumstances won't change. It might be go and speak to somebody else. It might be just to say, I realize right now, this very moment, that's me. Put up your hand and say, that's me. And do something about it. Remember the law? What changed it temporarily? They took action.
Action, yeah.
Now
and it's your prison. You're the only one that can let you free. That's the other thing.
Nobody else knows. Nobody else knows.
Exactly.
Well, what it says exactly after the being puppet, it says, it may be praiseworthy and noble to sacrifice your life to a cause or business or the happiness of others. But if you are miserable and unfulfilled in that lifestyle and know it, then to remain in it is hypocrisy, a lie, and a rejection of the faith placed in you by your Creator.
Yeah.
Ooh, ouch, ouch, surgery. This is a hard surgery.
Deep one.
Ooh, this is like splitting the atoms in this. Because if you're doing it and you're miserable,
Yeah.
you're just fooling yourself.
That's
Because
like
yeah,
that's like flipping the script and say, well, in the mirror, it's like you're the guilty one. You've chosen to be here, so you can choose to flip the mirror around and not be there.
absolutely. But what hit me there is that you actually, in a sense, you've dropped your Creator because it's rejection of the faith He placed in you. I mean, He
Yes.
believed in you from the beginning. Why would you not believe in yourself?
Yeah.
So this is a call to all of us as you turn to page 18 and we start concluding chapter 2 for tonight. And that is that perhaps we need to say to ourselves, where are we in this whole process? And this is where the question he was asked, aren't you trying to play God by trying to
Yeah.
fix your circumstances? And this is where, because this was asking Simon Potter, aren't you trying to play God when you help people and you try and uplift them and look for them especially?
Yeah.
And he says, I'm not playing God. What we will learn sooner or later is that God often plays man. God will do nothing without a man. And whenever he works a miracle, it's always done through a man.
Through man.
Which means, Daniel van Zyl, I'm telling you tonight, you are my human rag picker.
Amen.
Thank you for picking me up. Thank you for
Not
being
a
there at the
problem.
right time in my life for me to realize I had imprisoned myself, lost my self-esteem, lost my hope, and yet overlooked all the gifts and the skills that I had. In fact, I was the one that needed the Lazarus. I was the one that needed to rise up from that living death that I was living. And I just thank you for what you did in my life. And that's why I want to make eye contact. So I want to thank you because you were obedient. I haven't heard from you for how many years? Please give me that answer. I haven't heard from you for how many years?
Probably 4, 5 years. I mean,
Exactly.
last we chatted was like 2018, 2017, 2018. And it's now
Exactly.
24.
Exactly. So you're talking 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Why now? I'm sure you can't even explain it. Why now?
Right place, right time.
Right place, right time. And the thing is, I was ready to hear.
Yes.
You know, peanut galleries give me a good answer here. I was ready to hear because before I was stubborn. I would not have listened. But I had to be absolutely at my worst in order to hear properly.
And if
Well,
it came from somebody else, you probably wouldn't have listened as well. So I was put there because someone higher up knew that I'm the one that needs to bring the message.
correct. And you were just obedient. And I actually smile how all of a sudden the body language in this chapter changes. All of a sudden, he stood up because, as to say, thank you, end of meeting. Because as we know that in a board meeting, when the guy just stands up, okay, this is the end of the meeting.
That's the end.
And that's exactly what
Lesson
happened.
learned.
And he just said, hey,
End of lesson.
End of lesson, don't forget to bring me your book.
Yeah.
Look at that. That actually was so surprising. End of meeting, don't forget to bring me your book. What did he immediately do? He set up the next
Meeting.
appointment and
Or
meeting.
next connection, yeah.
That's right. I find that fascinating. If you really care for people, it won't just be that once that you connect.
Yes.
You will respond to see you next time. And that really is what it is about. So do you want to maybe just read the last paragraph for us on page 18 as we end off tonight?
Yes. If that wise old rag picker specialized in rescuing human refuse, why was he wasting his time on me, an affluent and successful company president in the 50% tax bracket, who had just written a national bestseller?
This is Og Mandino saying, why me?
Yeah.
Why me? Why? And the thing is, it's never by chance. So Daniel, summarize for me, what is your main lesson that you take out of tonight that you take with you, and then I'll give you mine.
Never let opportunities go you by, because you never know if it's the right person who's going to help you to your next step or to your end goal.
Absolutely. And for me, my eye goes back to Og seeing those hundreds of books and quickly sorting out they are there, but here's the truth. So many people buy books and never read them.
Yes.
That's why we're making the effort to help you, our listener, read with us, because you don't make the time. And may this inspire you to realize those books are meant to bring you a message like this has changed what Daniel and I do. So Daniel, thank you for tonight.
Amen.
I think that chapter
Pleasure.
2 was shaking us in our boots a bit, and I can't wait until we do chapter 3.
We're getting to that good thing.
We give it to the good things. Thank you. To all of you guys, catch you next time. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.